purpose of the media is to make profit.
I think that the media targets consumers. It targets people that are not consumers and lures them into being consumers.
You turn on the news and it's like the newscaster is saying, here's a big giant list of things that you should be afraid of today.
Well, I think a really good example of the media manipulating people or being used by the powers that be to manipulate was during the first Gulf War, where the story that broke of the babies being pulled from the incubators and being left on the cold floors of the hospital to die was really a catalyst for the first U.S. invasion. I mean, not invasion, but the first U.S. military troops to go and actually defend Kuwait and the babies that died on the floor. And then later it came out that the woman who reported that was actually the daughter of the prime minister or a high government official, and it never happened. It was completely created by a PR firm who's the same PR firm that's been hired by the BC government for the forest industry and also for the fish farm industry and for the Exxon Valdez, and it, you know, the list goes on, and that's frightening to me when they can go and say things like that and suddenly change everybody's opinion on a whole country and then go in there and kill a bunch of innocent people just on the word of one story that comes out through the media. It's frightening.
I feel like we're laboratory rats with pipes shoved down our throat.
If your prime raison d'etre is to do well in the ratings, to attract an audience, then the truth is secondary. I was just speaking to a news cameraman moments ago who said, boy, it's amazing what I shot and what appeared on the news were completely different things.
Well, just easily last weekend I was at one of the peace rallies for what's going on, the invasion of Iraq, and there was 15,000 people were counted as being at this rally, and that news that night on 2 stations both said very low turnouts, and one of them even had the nerve to say there was only a couple hundred people there, and it was just a blatant lie.
You have to really be careful about what you take to be true. You always have to question what the media is trying to portray.
If you'll notice the shirt I'm wearing, the logo, that's my corporate logo. This is not an accident that I'm wearing this shirt and that I'm pointing to it. No, it's manipulation.
One of my favorite times that I manipulated the media was in an interview that I did here in Vancouver for a local newspaper. I really wanted to be called Canada's sweetheart. So what I did in the interview was I told the interviewer that I really wanted to be called Canada's sweetheart. So he wrote that in his newspaper. I then flew to Prague, gave them that press, so in turn, the Prague Pros lifted Canada's Sweetheart from the old press, printed in their press, Canada's Sweetheart. Then when I came back to Canada, I got to have that title, Canada's Sweetheart. And you can actually follow the dates from the first interview to the second interview to the third interview, and then it ended up being a cover on a magazine. Canada's Sweetheart has a new show, and I was very proud of that, and I knew at that point I can do anything I want, and this is what everybody's doing.
The media is about manipulation, and that it's pretty bombarding with whatever they're trying to sell you and to change your mind and make you think that you need all these things, whether or not you don't, right? So that's a form of manipulation.
Manipulate is kind of a strong word to describe it. Perhaps influenced. I mean, if I was to say that I wasn't influenced by the media, I'd be in denial, right? I mean, everybody to some extent is influenced by the media. And it does affect your decisions, especially as a consumer.
The ultimate goal for the media is to force people to conform. I think that we have to conform to roles in society. We have to conform to a consumeristic point of view. We have to buy stuff. We have to believe stuff. We have to be afraid of stuff. So I think that's the role of the media, is to invoke fear and make people buy stuff.
The thing is I believe that by very nature, the media as a medium, like the nature of it, is it's always going to be somebody's point of view or perspective, right? So it'll always be skewed to some extent. So if you can walk into it with, not a cynical attitude, but somewhat questioning, then you can become a pretty informed person.
Yeah, it's a pretty serious problem, but it's not the problem.
I think that the media is a problem if you let it be a problem. I think that if you choose to educate yourself and you choose to believe things that you want to believe and you choose to question, then the media can be less of a problem. I think that there aren't enough people out in the world who question and who do their own research and choose to educate themselves. I think that there aren't enough people who even realize that that's an option. So I think the media teaches us that it isn't an option. We're taught to have like tunnel vision, really.
In fact, I would say I discovered after that I was manipulated as opposed to during or before. So usually manipulation takes the form of ignorance.
Media is manipulation. I think that we have this very naive idea that media is truth. News could be, and I'd love it to be, truth. But media isn't. It's an interpretation. It's marketing. And once you know that and come to terms with that, it becomes a whole different game.
In advertising, you see, all the time stuff about health issues like smoke, don't smoke, don't smoke, smoking is cool, smoking's not cool. All these contradictory messages we get all the time.
Right now, the media is really targeting young people because they have this disposable income that they're not supporting kids. They don't have big mortgages. They don't have these big debts that they're dealing with. They have this cash that they just can spend, and you see a lot of marketing directed towards young people. I'd say teenagers to 20-somethings.
Younger people, I'm thinking children, are vulnerable, and I think perhaps certain media professionals understand that, and they realize that if they can get them on side to their point of view as early as possible, then they may have them for life.
Do you remember in high school or junior high, this always happened when it came to voting in school. They'd go, sex. Now that I've got your attention, vote for Wayne. Well, that's still going on.
They want to make money. They're a corporation. They have to make money, and that's it. And they don't have any, I think, meaningful conception of the buying public beyond cash cows. It's like every person is a farm for money.
Making money. I think that's the whole point of it.
I think the media's number one target are consumers. And maybe number two, but way down the list, are voters. But in our society, I think it's the consumer is the prime target. The media is the most powerful tool on the face of the planet. And producers need to use that power with responsibility.